You know, if you walk into literally any room full of adults, you're going to hear it almost immediately. The dreams, the grand plans, the lives they are absolutely going to build, the businesses they're going to start, the books they're going to write, the bodies they're going to have. I mean, the talking is just constant. And the conviction, it's totally real. The wanting is entirely genuine.
But here is the stark, brutal truth about all that chatter. Most of those people, they are never going to build any of it. And it's not because their dreams were bad or because they didn't really want it. No, most people will never build what they talk about for one simple reason. They've confused the talking with the building. And hey, you might actually be sitting there right now, completely convinced that discussing your plans is moving you forward.
So let's dive into the actual science of why this fails. The talking you're doing, it isn't just a neutral force, and it is definitely not accountability, even if it feels that way. It's actually a chemical substitute. Think about it. Every single time you announce your intentions, your brain releases this little hit of reward chemistry. It literally mimics the exact satisfaction you would have gotten from actually doing the hard work. And once your brain gets that cheap, easy reward, well, it just spends the motivation that should have powered your actual progress.
In fact, if you really pay attention, a person's very speech style is an incredible diagnostic tool here. Just look at the talker. Their speech style is usually highly animated, super performative, and really intense. Why? Because the talking has to do all the heavy lifting. It has to keep the dream alive when there is absolutely zero real foundation beneath it. Now look over at the builder. Their speech style is noticeably calm. It's quiet. They don't need to perform for you, because the daily evidence of their progress provides all the reassurance they could ever need.
So there's this massive gap between the version of you who describes the life you want and the version of you who actually builds it. And here's the kicker. The gap is not desire. The gap is not intelligence. The gap is something much, much quieter and honestly, entirely unglamorous. You see, wanting and building are two completely separate physical and mental activities. You can want something for decades without ever taking a single concrete step.
Which brings us to part 1 of our explainer today, the parable of the novelists. Let's look at talking versus building in action. Consider a guy who spent his entire adult life talking about writing a novel. He had the outlines, he had fragments of ideas, he had this intense conviction when he spoke about it. But let this massive, hollow number really sink in for a second. 15. For 15 years, this novel was always just about to start. 15 years of passionate talking and absolutely zero finished drafts. He was completely paralyzed by the illusion of glamorous preparation.
Then, one day, he met another author, exactly his age, who had actually just published his second book. When he asked this author for his big secret, the guy completely shattered the illusion. He didn't say a word about sudden inspiration or waiting for the muse. He just looked at him and said, "I wrote 500 words a day for 3 years. It was almost always bad, and I had to edit it 80 times. That's it. No drama, no magic, just 500 words of heavy, unglamorous daily grinding." And suddenly, the talker finally got it. He abandoned the whole illusion and just started his own 500 words a day. Most days, yeah, it was awful, but he kept going. And just 2 years later, his first novel was totally done. 2 years! I mean, think about that. 15 years of talking produced thin air, but just 2 short years of tedious, boring doing produced an actual physical reality.
So here is the ultimate diagnostic truth we can take away from this. The gap between you and the person living your dream isn't about talent, and it's definitely not about passion. It is simply your tolerance for the unglamorous. Every meaningful dream out there is built on a solid foundation of absolute boredom. It's daily emails, it's repetitive workouts, it's unimpressive micro-decisions. If you cannot tolerate the unglamorous, well, you're never going to cross that gap.
Moving on to part 2, the middle category myth. This is a seriously dangerous illusion.
Right now, as you're listening to this, your brain is probably getting a little defensive. It's probably telling you that you are in a middle phase of preparing. Let me tell you, this is the ultimate trap. There is no middle category. Buying a shiny new planner, that isn't building a business. Watching workout videos on YouTube isn't training. Gathering inputs and waiting for the absolute perfect moment might feel like progress, but they produce absolutely nothing. They are just talking dressed up in a really clever disguise.
Wanting is not building. Period. You have to consciously redirect your energy away from dreaming and put it directly into doing. Think about it like this. If you cannot name the specific, irreducible daily action that constitutes building your dream, like making one sales call or writing one single page, and you're not doing it every single day, you are just talking.
And that's true no matter how sophisticated your research phase looks.
So how do we break out of this? Let's get into part 3, the 3-part fix. Here is exactly how you start building today.
The good news here is that the diagnosis is actually the exact same thing as the cure. Step 1 is honestly the most brutal discipline in adult life. You need to go quiet. Keep the dream entirely to yourself. You have to cut off that false neurological reward at the source by fundamentally changing your speech style. Literally, stop the speech about your dream completely. Step 2, identify your absolute smallest, irreducible daily building action. Maybe it's 500 words, maybe it's 1 outreach call. And then step 3, do it. Every single day, not just when you feel inspired, I mean every single day.
Now, the very moment you take that first action, your identity officially shifts. You are now a builder. But I really have to warn you, for the first 6 months, your progress is going to be almost entirely invisible. Your brain is going to scream at you to start talking again just to get some of that quick, easy validation. Resist it. Keep quiet. Because if you stick with it, around year 2, the visible reality in your life finally catches up to all that quiet work.
You really have to understand that the tedium is the entire point. The unglamorous, boring repetition is literally the only thing that produces real results. Sure, 1 day's worth of action is just a drop in the bucket, but 1,000 days of unglamorous, tedious action, that right there is the universal math that produces the actual lives the talkers only dream about.
Look, the years are gonna pass anyway. The only question is whether they pass with you talking or with you building. You can't reverse the years you've already lost, but you absolutely can claim the ones ahead. So pick your dream, identify that tiny daily action, and start the moment this explainer ends. So I'll leave you with the only honest question left. Are you talking or are you building today?